little time.
This video is sponsored by Anchor. Today, I'm going to show you how I made a Venom mask with a realistic moving jaw. This mask is not only a display piece, but if you want to wear it on your head, it's really easy. It just splits apart in two pieces like that, and that way you can easily slide it over top of your head. And in case you're wondering, yes, you can see out of the mask, which is pretty cool. This was entirely handmade from scratch using mostly aluminum foil and tape, and you don't need a head cast or a head mold or anything to make this, so it's actually a lot easier than you might think. So let me show you how I did it. First thing I did was cover my head in aluminum foil and tightly press the foil into my head to make sure it's form-fitting. In order to make the foil retain its shape, I cover it in masking tape, and this will give me a good starting point for the mask. Now I cut out a bunch of strips of cereal box cardboard, but you can use pretty much any kind of cardboard for this. And I'm gonna hot glue on a bunch of strips of cardboard until the whole thing gets covered. This doesn't have to be perfect, it's just to add some structure, so I'm basically just winging it and trimming all the pieces as I go. Next, I'm going to use this floral stem wire, but any kind of wire will work. You could use a coat hanger or something like that. And I hot glued the wire to some corrugated cardboard and then trimmed off the excess wire with a wire cutter. This is what I'm going to use to make the jaw, and as you can see, I can bend the cardboard into the shape of the jaw, and the wire will help the cardboard stay in whatever shape I want. Here I mix up some 5-minute epoxy and used that to attach on some neodymium magnets, and these magnets are basically going to be the hinging point between the jaw piece and the head piece. If you don't have neodymium magnets, don't worry, later on I'll show you an even better way to do this without magnets. Alright, well now I'm going to bring back the aluminum foil, and we're basically just going to tape on a whole bunch of aluminum foil onto the jaw piece and keep adding more and more layers until it starts to resemble the shape of the chin. And as you'll see, I used a box cutter to chop off any excess material that I didn't want. Don't be afraid to make this jaw piece super big and fat and bulky like that. You actually want it to be big so that there's enough room to put all the teeth in without having the teeth poke your face. Notice I added a rope of aluminum foil around the edge there. That's pretty important if you want your Venom to have lips. And on the jaw piece, you'll see there's a little platform which is going to allow my chin to control the movement. As I'm building this, I realized that adding all of that aluminum foil actually made this jaw piece heavier than I thought it would be, which is a problem because the magnets aren't able to hold that much weight. I think I have a solution though. I've gone ahead and removed the magnets, and instead of the magnets, I think a better idea would be to use these snap fasteners. These are pretty easy to find. I got them at Walmart, but you can also find these at fabric stores or on Amazon. These two pieces can snap together tightly, and they spin with very minimal friction, so these are perfect for making the moving jaw. After removing the magnets, I glued on the snap fasteners using 5-minute epoxy, and I was so glad to see that these worked way better than the magnets. At this point, I started bulking up the head using more aluminum foil and tape. To me, it looks like the head is not really like a perfect sphere, but rather the front of the head kind of comes to a bit of a point. So I would suggest making the front of the head a bit pointier, and that I think will make it look more accurate. Just like we did on the jaw piece, we need to add a rope of aluminum foil for the lips, and you can either tape it on or super glue it like I did, doesn't really matter. Also, it kind of goes without saying, but make sure you leave enough clearance for the jaw to be able to open and close right there. Now it's time to cut out the eye holes. So I freehanded a stencil for the eye and traced it onto the head with a marker. And after that, I carved out the shape using a box cutter. As you can see, the mask is very thick right here where the eye holes are because of all those layers of aluminum foil. So I had to remove some material from the inside of the mask, and that way the white part of the eye will sit more flush with the front of the mask rather than being recessed inwards. See, now it's a lot thinner and hollowed out from the inside, and when I place something behind there, it'll be flush, which is exactly what I want. Now, I'm not actually going to be able to see through the white part of the mask. I mean, if I wanted to, I could use a mesh for the eyes, but I was concerned with making the mask look good and making the eyes opaque, more so than being able to see clearly out of it. So I decided I was going to use this perforated vinyl, which has small little discrete holes in it, and I'll be able to kind of peek out of those holes. Here I used a hot glue gun to add some texture to the mask and make it look like there's some veins popping out and muscles and whatnot. I think I might have gotten a little too excited with the hot glue gun. I went a little overboard, and in hindsight I kind of wish I didn't add so much hot glue because the mask turned out to be a little too wrinkly, but oh well. Using a mixture of about 60% white glue and 40% water, I am now gonna paper mache the whole entire mask. I give the paper mache a bit to dry, and then I can paint everything black. I'm using puffy paint here, which if you aren't familiar with puffy paint, it's kind of like a unique paint that dries three-dimensional. The idea here is that the puffy paint should hide all the seams of the paper mache, since the puffy paint will be slightly raised up from the surface. Also, the puffy paint is pretty glossy, which is another good reason to use it here. To make the teeth, I'm going to use a new material I've never used before. This is called polymorph thermoplastic. Basically what this material is a moldable plastic. It comes in beads and you basically melt it with hot water. So when the plastic is heated, it will turn clear, and once it cools down, it will turn white again. I bought this material on Amazon, and I'll leave a link below to where you can find it as well. As you can see, I made a whole bunch of teeth in all various different sizes and shapes. To attach the teeth to the mask, I'm going to use a mixture of liquid latex and flour. Basically, I just gradually mix in small amounts of the flour little by little until I have a thick consistency like this. This mixture that we just made is going to make up the gums of the mouth, so I just apply this stuff all over the gum area, and you can dip your brush in latex and that will kind of help to smooth everything out and help you get a more refined shape. You kind of want to work fast when you're doing this because you want to make sure that the liquid latex doesn't dry before you get a chance to insert all those teeth into the gums. When the liquid latex dried, I simply used some super glue to permanently keep the gums stuck to the mask. You can make the teeth look a bit more realistic and accurate by adding shades of yellow and brown, and that will make the teeth look more like real enamel instead of just being super pearly white. Now that the teeth are painted, it's time to paint the gums. So I mixed up some red, blue, white, yellow, and orange, and I just kind of went back and forth between those colors until I finally arrived at this color right here. Before painting the gums, I removed the teeth so it would be easier to paint, and see, this is why I used liquid latex. Even when the latex dries, you can still easily pull out the teeth, which is very convenient for painting. And once the paint dries, I can just super glue all those teeth back in. Then I applied on a bit more puffy paint to extend the lips a bit further past the gums. And I do this because I want the gums to look more like they are sort of hidden behind the lips, if that makes sense. And that looks much better. You can add a bit more depth to the gums if you put on some watered down black paint and then quickly wipe most of it away. It's very subtle, but it makes a difference. I'm gonna go ahead and add some foam on the inside of the mask where my chin will be, so that my chin will be more of a snug fit, and doing that will make the jaw more responsive when I open and close my mouth. The same material I used to make the teeth is what I used to make the eyes as well. So I got the plastic all nice and hot, and then I basically try to press and force the plastic to conform to the shape of the eye hole so that it follows the contour of the mask. After the plastic cools down, you can still go back and reheat it and reshape it if it didn't imprint perfectly. I had to reheat it a couple times in certain areas because it's kind of hard to get it just right on the first try. Then I used some more puffy paint to make these little squiggly lines, and that will make the transition smoother around the eye. I mixed up some 5-minute epoxy and then applied that over both of the eyes, and what that will do is make the eyes look wet. Same thing with the mouth. I put the epoxy all over the teeth and the gums, and that just sort of gives the illusion that the mouth is salivating and that there's like a wetness on it. So I was going to be finished with the mask at this point, but I'm not really happy with the way the eyes turned out. I'm going to try to fix that right now. So it was kind of bothering me that the eyes just looked ever so slightly too far apart from each other. I don't know, I just felt like the eyes needed to be tapered in just a little bit. So I added some more polymorph thermoplastic, and I purposely try to add more plastic than I actually need there so that I can cover some of the extra plastic with puffy paint. After I was happy with the new shape of the eyes, I had to go over both the eyes again with epoxy because we just added all that extra material. But before I did that though, I decided very last minute that I wanted some more grunge and dirt to the eye, so I added some black paint. Then once that dried, I could add the epoxy to both eyes, and then I was finished.
We will eat both your arms and then both of your legs, and then we will eat your face right off your head. You will be this armless, legless, faceless thing, won't you? Rolling down the street like a turd in the wind.
So, if you want your mouth to be invisible from the outside looking in, you can wear a black face mask, and that should do the trick. And also, if you aren't able to get your hands on this polymorph thermoplastic, I think a good alternative would be clay. You could use that to make the eyes and the teeth. And if you can't get liquid latex, I think you could just use hot glue for the gums, and that would look just as good. The only problem with hot glue though is that when you stick the teeth in, they will be permanently stuck in place, so you can't like remove the teeth and then paint the gums separately. You're gonna have to use a fine brush and just tediously paint in between all those teeth. This portion of the video was sponsored by Anker. The Anker Nano Pro is a 20-watt adapter that can charge your iPhone 8 or above from 0% to 50% in just 30 minutes. That's 3 times faster than the original Apple 5-watt adapter. This charger even monitors temperature and output to prevent overheating. As of the iPhone 11, Apple stopped including charging bricks in the box with iPhones. What you do get is a USB-C to Lightning cable. So if you're planning on upgrading to the new iPhone 13, or perhaps a slightly older model since the prices just dropped, you have 2 options. You can either keep using your old USB-A cable and 5-watt adapter and charge your iPhone slowly, or if you want fast charging, pick up a compatible USB-C adapter, and the Anker Nano Pro is a great option. Both the Anker Nano Pro and Apple's USB-C charger charge at the same speed, but as you can see, the Anker is literally half the size. This is especially noticeable when you go to plug the Apple adapter into a power strip and realize that it blocks the neighboring sockets. That doesn't happen with the Anker though. The Anker Nano Pro on the other hand is small enough so that it doesn't block the other sockets, which I personally benefit from on a regular basis, especially as a content creator. As you can see, there are 4 different colors to choose from to match your personal style. So what are you waiting for? Check out the Anker Nano Pro by hitting the first link in the description, and you'll thank me later. Thank you to Anker for sponsoring this video. Click the screen right here if you want to watch my previous video where I made a Scarlet Spider web shooter. Thank you very much to my patrons for supporting me on Patreon, and thank you for watching.